The Thiago situation gets complicated. Real plan a huge summer next year. Wolves smash their record fee, a transfer roundup, and Emoji Mondays all coming up in the next few minutes. As I am your host, Matt Froelich, you are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. First up, and the Thiago situation is getting a little bit more complicated. Now, over the weekend, should I say before the weekend, we told you that he was happy to stay at Bayern, when really it turns out he didn't exactly say he was going to leave in the first place. There was just a lot of media speculation that Liverpool wanted to buy him. It looks like he is interested in moving to Anfield, but they are not interested in paying the 30 million euros that Bayern Munich want. So, in the last few days or so, Barcelona have now said that they are interested in bringing Thiago back to the club where he made his professional debut. This is in stark contrast to the fact that Barcelona also want Gini Wijnaldum from Liverpool as well, so you can kind of see where a small triangle is forming. In my opinion, because Liverpool don't want to pay their money and they're waiting on Wijnaldum to be sold to then have the money to go and buy Thiago, this is exactly what they should be doing, and they should be doing it fast. If Barca sign Thiago, not only do Liverpool not get the money from selling Wijnaldum, it also means that Barca don't need Wijnaldum, so Liverpool are to hang on to him, and they won't be getting the player that they originally wanted that wants to come to them in the first place. I don't quite understand why the Champions League and Premier League winners over the last 2 years don't have, we're not saying ridiculous amounts of money to spend, but don't have 30 million to spend on Thiago without having to sell someone first. Anyway, the ideal thing for Jurgen Klopp's men would be to sell Wijnaldum at a lower price, somehow find the extra 10-15 million, and then just bring Thiago in. But talking of a team who do not need to worry about any money, although they may have done this summer, is Real Madrid. And honestly, very rarely a transfer window goes by where you don't hear too much from Real, but that's kind of what's happened this summer. There haven't been too many ins and outs. It looks like, according to reports, they are preparing for a monster summer next year. This will involve over 250 million to bring in the likes of Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland and Eduardo Camavinga. And honestly, 250 million isn't enough. I know prices have deflated a little bit because of the lockdown and COVID-19, but there is no way that you could buy all three for 250 million. I mean, Mbappe probably cost close to that on his own. Never mind Erling Haaland, who may have another incredible season at Dortmund under his belt, and Eduardo Camavinga, who'll be 1 year older and 1 year better off for it. He is seen as the replacement, or certainly replacement in the long run, to Casemiro, and apparently Mbappe was close to signing a contract with Real Madrid in December, but things just didn't quite happen. It looks like it really is a case of when and not really if he signs for the Galacticos. With Erling Haaland, of course, it's too soon to say because he just signed for Dortmund in January, but as I mentioned before, one more good season and there's no doubt that heads will be turning with the brilliant striker putting on some fantastic goal-scoring performances, which I'm sure we're going to see in the Bundesliga and the Champions League over the course of the next 10 months or so. Imagine that front three. Hazard on one side, Mbappe on the other, Haaland through the middle. I'm sure Karim Benzema will have something to say about that, but still, nonetheless, it's a pretty good sight for Real Madrid fans. And talking of a good sight for fans, we come up next to Wolves, who have absolutely smashed their record transfer fee as they have paid £35.6 million for Porto's Fabio Silva, the man who has scored just 3 senior goals. Well, he is Porto's youngest player ever, as he made his debut at 17 years old a couple of seasons ago, and he's got a very bright future. Those of you that play FIFA or Football Manager, you know exactly what they're talking about. So, in terms of the transfer market, 35 million is not too much. In terms of an 18-year-old who has improved himself, it is quite a lot. But in terms of a team like Wolves, who don't have the biggest history, certainly when it comes to spending huge amounts of money, that's an insane amount. I mean, they literally did the same thing last summer with Patrick Cutrone from AC Milan, and that did not turn out. 6 months later, he was shipped back to Fiorentina. Honestly, it is a very, very big risk, especially when you got the likes of Raul Jimenez, who's such a fantastic forward for Wolves. They're not going to sell him just because they've bought in another striker. He's still going to be their main guy, so this 35 million that they've paid for Silva is probably something they're going to expect to see a return on within the next 3, 4, 5 years. There's no way you can be judging him straight away as someone who will probably sit on the bench. Having said that, obviously fans, and especially rival fans who love to hate on any sort of transfer, he's going to need to do something something when he gets some minutes on the pitch. Alongside this though, with an outrageous signing, they also balanced it off by doing a not so outrageous signing, spending $2 million on Leon defender Marçal, who the 31-year-old comes in on a 2-year contract. Next up then, a quick roundup of the rest of the days and weekend's transfer news that you might have missed, where Newcastle have had a £20 million bid accepted by Bournemouth for striker Callum Wilson, and they're also looking to bring in Ryan Fraser on a free transfer from the South Coast club too. Roma have entered the race to sign Memphis Depay. Burnley's James Tarkowski has said he wants to play at a higher level, and that West Ham are going to have to at least double their £27 million bid to try and bring him in. And lastly but not least, one of the biggest pieces of news from the weekend was that Lionel Messi stays. This was Friday night, so you guys all know about it by now, but yeah, he did that big interview basically saying that he couldn't leave the club just yet and will have to stay for another year, although he is not happy at the way that it is being run. Let's move on then to Friday Feels. This is where you guys left your footballing predictions in the comments section on Friday's Daily News. Now we're going to read out a few of the correct ones. Tanya Logvinenko guessed that France would just edge past Sweden 1-0. Kalash Beda said that Havertz would be a Chelsea player. That happened very late on Friday night. Unbelievable bit of transfer news for Chelsea. And lastly but not least, Bojan Bogosic guessed that England would just beat Iceland 1-0, which they did with that last-minute Raheem Sterling penalty. So then, moving on to Emoji Mondays. This is where we at Onefootball throw a couple of emojis down on some of the weekend's footballing action. And first off, the best player for me goes to Sergio Ramos. A pretty good weekend for Spain, including a draw and a 4-0 victory over Ukraine, during which the centre-half scored 2 goals, and only one of them was a penalty. Honestly, we're so used to seeing Ramos score penalties that when he looped in that perfect header, it was a pretty nice sight. Anyway, that game also included a record-breaking goal for Ansu Fati, who became Spain's youngest ever goal scorer. Worst player on the weekend, Kyle Walker. Had a pretty poor game against Iceland, 2 yellow cards, a red card. Just wasn't his finest performance, and actually left the fullback fearing that this could be the end of his England international career. And finally, the best result goes to Gibraltar, who beat San Marino 1-0. Yes, if San Marino had beaten Gibraltar, it also would have been the best result, because both of them are the 2 lowest ranked European teams in FIFA's international football rankings, and it's just one of those rare things in football where absolutely anything could happen. But yeah, Gibraltar won 1-0. So there you have it. That is all from me for today's Daily News. But you guys let me know your thoughts and your Emoji Mondays in the comments section down below. Whilst you're at it, you can smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on Onefootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.